welcome to my channel, Nayoka's Journey. Get started with that. I just want to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to two YouTubers that I've been following, and they are Romain Green and Duke Basie. Go to their channel, it's very informative and very conscious. So take this time, go to their channel and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, okay?
Right now, the solid waste management now that they're working because right now I'm more than 2 months now since the rubbish they're on here and a pile up, and it's like it a come from up the line from round Tivoli section that they say, you see me, and the rubbish are coming and now we not see nobody who say come and come clean out the gully and mosquito and all kind of things about the people around here, because regular we dip on the plant at work, and when you look over the amount of mosquito, we don't know if we can catch malaria or dengue fever from what going around. So, you see me? It don't look good, and the school nearby, and the people them can catch all kind of disease from this. Are you health in a Virgin, and one time you have rubbish a pile up them way along the stretch, and so many big entity they around the place. Them things will kill you off slowly. You get me? So right now them just need to come in and come clean up the place, because a little rainfall and the entire street are flood out with beer rubbish, not just what we even bother about the water, the amount of rubbish we see on the road when time the rain don't fall. You see me? If you take a look behind here even, you can see a pure rubbish even over across the road there, so in front of the shipping agency. A pure rubbish up on the sidewalk. You see me? I say, I need to get to people right now, because more while you want to walk, come around on the gully side to come clean out the place, come bush up the area, and the amount of mosquito where they run here, you can't stay around here for even 5 seconds good, because the step around them swarm you. And if them come clean out the gully right now, I guarantee you say, yo, less mosquito we there in that place. You see me? It's like them not provide no facility where the people them can actually dump them rubbish. So the only result of it them throw it in the gully.
Aye, I'm black.
And that means see I go on.
Yeah, good night. This is the Cutting Edge, and I refer there next Wednesday. Yes. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM, all the way from Ocho St. Anne's, Jamaica. So, we are listening to the opening of the thing a while ago, the tracks and records. Usain Bolt tracks and records in Ocho. Big things are going in Ocho. Yeah, man. I hope it is as successful as the one in Kingston. Because we know the one in Kingston has been doing big things. So we just wish all the success, especially like how we hear as young people started. Every day you hear them kind of music up on radio in a Jamaica or maybe anywhere else. So we have to make the music talk. And it is obvious what we are doing when we play these music. It's to really reaffirm in ourselves. Even the people them who don't want to accept it, who don't want to accept them Africanness and them blackness that is within them consciousness. Whole heap of people still refuse and even try to deny who they are and what they are, because we were taught so much in slavery that we internalize the madness and become the madness. We are so ignorant that we think ignorance is a blissful thing. Most of the time, ignorance leads to stupidity, and African people find themselves in a very ignorant, blissful, euphoric illusion that they are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. We want the African people, them who listen to it, to refuse that. To throw away that out of their mind, out of their consciousness. That we were not born in sin. And we were not shaped in iniquity. Because if you was born in sin and then you are shaped in that iniquity, you are of no good, neither to others nor yourself. So we have to mash down them talk there, once and for all. African people is beautiful people. Circumstances cause we to be in this position, but it's not going to be forever. Good must overcome evil. And with all the religion and the politics and the economics and the social orders and the culture that we are trapped in this part of the world, yeah. We know. Good must overcome evil. And right now, the people them who is in power is evil. Evil at the highest or lowest level. We must question our authority. Don't be afraid to question our authority. Because if you don't question our authority, you will become part of that evil force that decide our future and allow our future to become grim. Because we were conscious people. When we see evil, we didn't know evil. When we see good, we didn't know good. Now, there's a thin line between love and hate. The Persuaders sing that song years ago. A thin line between love and hate. A thin line between good and evil. And the way the society set up here, so now it make good people do bad things. It make good people do bad things. And we know that bad people do good things. But we not expect good people to do bad things. And it kind of get topsy-turvy, you know, when we recognize what is going on. Why you look the sister in them who listen to it, I mean, like religiously listen to this program here from all over the world. We had the opportunity to meet some of those sisters in Houston, Texas, the other day when we went there. Some sisters that called me on the program, emailed me, and it was really something else to meet them. To know that they listen and they understand what we're trying to put out there. And they also spread it. We give thanks for that. This is the cutting edge on RFM. They are with you. One of the things them is a question. Are you eating plastic for dinner? You know, we keep saying this over and over, you know, and you know, it come like center we attack certain things, some people now take it serious. And until certain things happen. And we don't want to say I did tell you so. Because that would be very arrogant. But I keep telling the people them in Jamaica, you know, say, you see, if we don't keep dumping the things them in the gully, the plastic, the tampons, the all sort of thing, anything, the dead dog them, throw them over the gully hedge. You see when the rain come, it go and wash it to the sea. You see the fisherman, you see the fish them were in the sea, them go and eat where them get coming from your gully. When the fishermen them go down there, they are going to catch the fish them.
Today is
and
the
carry it to the market and you're going to go down to the market and buy the fish. And on Sunday, you're going to cook that fish and put it on your plate. It's the same rubbish where you dump, you're eating back. Because they are now finding out that a lot of the fish them now, because there's so much plastic in the sea, that the fish them start almost digest the plastic them now and make the plastic become a part of them. You are what you eat. Everybody hear that saying all the while. You are what you eat. So if you eat garbage, check your mind. You are dumping your dinner in the gully. Your Sunday dinner is coming back to you. And I know, say, you don't really want to nyam where you throw away. Or if you, I bet you just go nyam it then. Because if you dump it in the sea and you're going to eat it again in a different form. I mean, all them things the way you dump in the gully, I bet you just find somewhere to cook them. It's a terrible thing. Anybody watch the TV and say the things them go on down. You know, say, may I tell my lady, say, when me was a youth, me used to go a bolo. Those of you who in my age group know bolo. That time it didn't name Foreshore Road. Bolo was a canal where we used to call school and go catch fish, tiki fish. It was a pleasure for go down there, go catch fish, tiki fish. And tiki fish not live in a dirty water. So you must know that the canal, a clean water, did a flow in that canal. Right on the same road there where you see them the nasty thing them and the dirty thing them were around there. The canal there. It's a thing where we find, say, the canal on one side was what you call dongle or Bakawal. But Tivoli, they know it was Bakawal, and then you did have the slaughterhouse right beside the train station where you go slaughter goat, pig, dog, cow, and anything down there to carry to market. Right at Darling Street, bottomless up. And the canal, even though you did have dongle where Rastaman who did flee from up Bakawal and all them place, they did end up along a dongle there. In a where we call Bakawal, so. And even though all of them nasty places there, where the Rastaman used to have to live in them nasty places because all the system set up. And even though the Rastaman did live in the nasty place, him still did talk about peace and love and Africa. And educate himself in that dongle. And right beside him was a canal where you have fresh water with fish are running out the water. Where me as a youth, I don't know nothing about Rasta them days. I don't know nothing about nothing. More than say, me and my friend them left Wesley School, a Rosemary Lane and Middle Lane, Rosemary Lane and Tower Street corner. And as youth, we walk from Rosemary Lane, go down to Harbour Street, Port Royal Street, and walk straight out of Foreshore Road to go catch fish. Them days that we just catch the fish them at the back end. And carry home for nothing at all. I just you, just like how we used to have slingshot. And you should catch all penny while they put in a buckle to make flashlight. I'm going to say Tracy don't know them things there. Even though Tracy a country girl. But we never see them things there. When rain come, we never used to see them things there. But the more the population grow and the infrastructure stays same way, it's like the dam them did it for 100 years, and the infrastructure stays same way. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing I go on. So here we are saying so now, because it's a serious thing. You see where you dash with today, in the gully, is that you're going to eat tomorrow. Trust me, where you dash with today is where you're going to eat tomorrow. Believe you me. So I don't know how else to tell you. I don't know how else to tell you. I don't know how else to tell you. Because we are trying put it in our head, and look, you want to see where we are going, look where we are going down there. So. You remember a couple of weeks ago, we read a report how much condom block up the gully down at Montego Bay, make the water run over upon the thing and flood out the Montego Bay there, so. At the same thinking of the people them, you know, where them just throw things in the water, them and say, a whole heap of sex are going on the side of the gully. People just change condom, throw it at the gully, till the people them go down there clear out the gully and them find, say, part of the problem was the amount of condom where them finding at the gully. And now we look on this, we are going on the TV, so we see plastic bag like, wow. Me I say, who bring up this plastic bag thing? But your man a complain, say, him do him little rituals and thing, and him can't get no cola champagne bottle again. He have to import them because a pair of plastic bottle never bring the drinks them in. Who come up with this plastic bottle thing? You know, say, a 500 years plastic take for disintegrate in the earth. 500 years, you know. So it's when you throw a plastic back long, rest assured, you know, when your grandfather, when your grand picnic become grandfather, you know, the plastic bottle still there. Can't drink out in the earth. But the reason why we are saying all them things there is for bring attention to this thing here. We want to play this thing here. We have to play this thing here for the people. Then. Okay. And even though we might not reach it so yet, but watch it.
It is everywhere. We need it. We want it. We even find it in places where we wouldn't expect it. When researchers examined the stomach of a beached sperm whale in 2012, they found 30 square meters of tarpaulin, a 4.5 meter long hose, a 9 meter long plastic rope, and 2 flower pots. How is this possible? On average, a European uses and disposes of more than 100 kilograms of plastic per year. A large part of plastic waste ends up on huge landfills or in the sea. Today, more than 100 million tons of plastic is drifting around the oceans. Due to particular currents in the Pacific Ocean, a new continent has been born. A mass of plastic waste the size of Europe. In some areas of the oceans, there is up to 60 times as much plastic as there is plankton. Because plastic does not rot, it lasts up to 500 years. Through exposure to sun, wind, and water, plastic is broken down into microscopic parts. These plastic particles can absorb high concentrations of agricultural and industrial toxins. Many animals mistake the plastic for plankton and eat their fill. Every year, more than 100,000 turtles, marine mammals and seabirds die a slow and painful death because they starve with a full stomach or because their intestines rupture. Other marine creatures in whose cells plastic and toxins have accumulated end up as seafood on our plates. The smallest form of plastic are microplastics. They are added to cosmetics, shower gels and toothpastes. A tube of toothpaste contains up to 10% microplastics. The sewage plants cannot filter microplastics, so they too end up in the sea. In the making of plastic, hazardous chemicals are used in order to enhance elasticity of fire resistance. Bisphenol A, plasticizers, or flame retardants are contained in almost every plastic product. Through exposure to heat, the wrong detergents, or simply over time, plastic will go brittle, thus releasing these chemicals, which in turn, through the airways, ingestion, or through mere touch, find their way into the human body. The consequences are severe. They include increased risk of cancer, asthma, infertility, and developmental disorders. The plastic industry tries to cover up any scandals and runs a gigantic lobbying campaign in order to prevent stricter laws or inquiries. Plastic factories are veritable fortresses. The plastic production process are tightly kept secret. This is one of the reasons why no one is exactly sure what substances are added to the plastic. Over the course of the last 10 years, only 11 chemical substances could be analyzed out of a total of 100,000 possible additives. But there is hope yet. Intelligent robot nets, or fishing boats converted to floating recycling factories, are intended to cleanse the oceans. Bioplastic made of maize or starch could replace conventional plastic. However, its production consumes valuable food, so it's no solution for satisfying the global demand for plastic. This is why you must radically change your consumption behavior. Pay attention to the packaging of products. Substitute paper or cloth bags for plastic bags. Don't throw away old plastic, but recycle it and use plastic-free products. Are we going to allow the destruction of the earth to continue? If we act now, there may still be hope for future generations, before the miracle material definitely turns on its creator.
Ultra Sports Center and Accessories does it again. This time it's a massive...
We played a little clip a while ago about the plastic thing. For just prick your conscience and your consciousness. Because that is what we're trying to do, awaken your consciousness and your conscience to something that will affect every living person on the planet here. Especially in a so-called third world countries. Because we suck up everything where them bring come give it. Now we see the Chinese them come. The Chinese them in a Jamaica for stay. You so say some of our little African sister them a walk out with Chinese baby, I call them mommy. True last week I said Chinese baby, I call them daddy. You so see all Tracy with a little Chinese baby in her hand. Tracy quiet round there. Tracy not say nothing. No, you just see you say, you so say a whole heap of the ghetto fabulous girl that walk around with Chinese baby, you know. Because that is how it's going to go. We have to start learn Chinese language in our school, you know. And we have to start find a good dog kennel for the dog them, that them don't run up and down out of the road. But within the level, the China is the most polluted country on earth right now. That is what, you know, I got Japan, you know. And I up on the plane, we are going to on the airport. Even, you know, we are going to on the bullet. Them have a trade in Japan. Them call it the bullet. Trust me. Anytime you drive on a plane there. Sorry, anytime you drive on a train there, it come like in a plane. But I see the people them have on this mask around them mouth and them nose. And I always wonder if it's afraid of visitors, why they put it around their mouth? Because when I see them come through even in a New York airport, as when them come off of the plane, you see them still have it on them nose. And then I realize, in a China and Japan and them places there, the air is so polluted that them have to safeguard them mouth and them nose from the amount of pollution where in a them places there. And China is the most polluted country on earth. Yes? But apart from that, no. Them have some food in a China there where we know where reach us out. Because same thing, remember, a couple months ago, we tell you about this plastic rice. Where them have make. And where them do with the plastic rice, they mix it up with the good rice. And bag it and ship it to places like Vietnam and certain places in Indonesia and them places in other part of the world that we don't know if any reach us yet. But you can't tell the difference between the plastic rice and the other rice. And now we see them and make our lettuce. Hey, why are telling the people about do something, some evil set of people? Hey, man, I get evil. We don't even know what word can describe. Oh, man, heart get for really reach that level there where if I make, you know, so you have a man who sit on the earth 24 hours a day and plan how to make something we can destroy all a city. You know, you have something named neutron bomb. Years ago, they made the neutron bomb where it only destroy human life, but it don't destroy building. What man of mind would have sit down for plan, for make something that only destroy human beings and left the building them? In other words, you who's in control of that bomb, when you destroy the human beings in that city, you can go in there and control the city without rebuilding the city. Like now, when we look on in Iraq now and Syria, everywhere mash up. Well, them man, they have bomb, we can destroy the human beings and left the city intact. What manner of thinking is this? How can people be making food where people have to eat, where them know say it's poison, but just for money and power, them continue to do these things? Listen to this.
Hey guys, we've been talking a lot about food that's really not good for you in the U.S., such as the 9-patty T-Rex burger from Wendy's or the 2,000-3,000 calorie breakfast meals. We're going to switch it and talk about food that's really not that good for you in China. And in China, there's really not a lot of attention on the calorie counts of the meals.
Yeah,
but there's really a lot of attention paid to whether this food may be toxic, or is it real, or is it fake?
And you thought that having like 2,000 calorie meals was bad, but in China, some foods, they might seem harmless, but they could kill you.
And here's just some foods that we found that you should try to avoid or check really carefully in China before you bite into them. The first one that I found was the fake baozi. I don't know if you guys know what baozi is. It's like a dumpling, a steamed dumpling type food. It's like a bun with meat stuffed inside. It's usually made out of pork or some other sorts of meat. But here, what's happening is people, street vendors especially, are making the pork. The insides of the buns, the pork, is making it from cardboard.
From cardboard?
Cardboard. And some of you say, well, how do they do that? Well, what they do is they soak the cardboard in water, or in chemicals, sorry, it's not even water, industrial chemicals, until it's really soft. Then they chop it up, and they put it into the bun as if it's pork.
Well, they mix it with a little bit
of pork fat.
Because if you don't put any pork in it, it's very easy to see that it's cardboard. So they put that and meat flavoring and just put a lot of ingredients, so it tastes like pork, but in reality,
cardboard. I mean, that's just almost unbelievable to me.
That is disgusting. And who knows where the cardboard came from and what kind of chemicals?
Industrial chemicals, that's all it says. Could be anything.
Wow.
And probably one of the most famous ones in China right now is the fake egg scandal.
This is one of the more recent ones, and you're just starting to wonder what's next. So what happened with these eggs is basically they're not eggs. They look like eggs and they feel like eggs, but they're completely artificial.
Right.
So the eggs, the shells, the yolk, like everything is made from chemicals and, basically non-edible things.
Which begs the question, is that really cost effective to actually make the whole egg on its own rather than just getting it from a real chicken?
And at one point you're thinking, right, these fake foods and these toxic foods are made because, the manufacturers want to save on price and they want to make a bigger profit margin. But really, making a whole egg out of scratch, that's got to take some work.
And it's the whole egg. The shells are made from, I think they say, wax. Even the yolk is lemon or food coloring.
Yeah.
And the white part is made some other mix of chemicals and ingredients. It's acid even. So it's just bizarre that you can actually create a whole egg just from chemicals and random, wax and some food coloring. So the one that struck me is this. There was a woman who bought some pork and she cooked it for her family, and then she left the leftovers on her counter at night. When she actually went to grab something or use the restroom, she actually saw a faint blue glow coming from her kitchen, and she saw it was actually the pork that she put there. It was emitting this blue light.
That sounds like a beginning of
Right?
a sci-fi film or something.
Supposedly, it's because the pork is contaminated by phosphorescent bacteria, and that's why it's glowing. But imagine, I mean, her family already ate some of the pork, and she left it there. Now it's glowing like a alien being almost. I mean, this is just really fascinating.
Yeah, it's terrifying, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, and disgusting. So on the topic of meat, a lot of meat producers in China have been selling fake beef that's actually made from rats and
Foxes,
and-
minks.
yeah, so things that we probably wouldn't want to eat on a daily basis, but they have used those animals to produce fake beef and sell it to people.
Right, and it's not just the beef as well. There's also cases of people using chicken that has died to make the roasted chicken. There were cases where I think some stores were disguising a chicken into a goose.
Oh, that's common day practice.
And all sorts of weird manipulation of meat to make it more expensive.
Absolutely. I mean, if you bought a geese and it was chicken, I mean, the worst thing is like, oh, I got gypped. But really, if you bought beef and it turned out to be rats, how would you feel? That's
Rat
disgusting.
burgers.
Wow.
Okay, and the last story we want to bring up is walnuts. So basically the scam is the people that are selling the walnuts have already taken the nut part out of the walnut shell and they replaced it with cement and a piece of paper and a tissue paper.
Why do they put the paper in? That's always my question.
I don't know why they put the paper in, but they re-glued the shell back together. So in essence, what they're doing is they're doubling their profits. They're selling the nut on its own, then they're selling the walnuts to unsuspecting customers too.
Yeah, so basically when you open the walnuts, it turns out to be a
piece of
rock.
cement.
Yeah.
And
And I guess why they put the paper in is because actually if you put cement into a walnut, it rattles. And
Yes, there you go.
walnuts don't rattle.
Good.
So, yeah. And
Good
plus,
theory.
and they probably measure the cement so that, when people, actually Chinese people are very particular about weighing their foods before buying them. So it has to at least feel legit. So it does, but when you go home, it's actually not.
And what we mentioned so far is not obviously the whole list of all the different food items you need to watch out for while in China. I think it goes way beyond this. And we're going to post the links to the articles that we found for this story below so you guys can take a look as well. And the food contamination, the fake products in China.
It's a very prevalent problem in China right now. And, the people there are really thinking, what could be next? Something else is going to come out, and it's going to be poisonous. And it's really bad.
And this is not cute. The walnut, there's a stone in your walnut. Okay, that might be, all right, ha ha ha. Okay, there's people making profits by selling people cement-filled walnuts. But that's easily catchable. You open it, there's cement in there so you don't eat it. But a lot of these foods is undetectable. I mean, you're eating chemicals, you're putting poison into your system, and there's not enough, there's definitely not enough coverage and attention paid to what's happening in China because of these food items. And a lot of times these food items, they are exported to other countries. Such as the toothpaste scandal several years back, where actually, toothpaste is being sold to the U.S. were contaminated with melamine as well. All right, so let us know what you guys feel about this issue. Are there more food items or items in general that we did not talk about in this video that you guys feel should be mentioned? Let us know in the comments section below.
Yes. Them never mention the plastic rice, where we just talk about. But the reason why we are playing them thing, is because of our new colonial masters. Our new colonial masters is even much more, elusive. Because we don't feel it's colonialism. Them don't make you feel like it's a colonialism. Them not going in slave way with chains. But when them done with them cultural practice in a Jamaica, trust me, man, it's going to be devastating. Just like even though them can say China is one of, like America owed China trillions of dollars. But when you look on China and the people them, and we are going in China now in terms of the people them, and we are going with the people them, you don't want it to reach a Jamaica, trust me. But guess what? It can't reach her because it's the government them what we have. You see these little bossy slave, these necktie choking suit, leather boot, whatsoever them is, Them sell we out. It's the same guys them we used to take side with Braca Master and catch back the slave them, you know. When man like call me runway, them send some same niggas to come capture we. Because we feel say through them black, we have more, we confide more in them. And when you look on where we are going right now, no white man don't sit down in a, well, and I'm going to say no white man don't sit down in a parliament, but when you look on the color of parliament, you can say, there goes the queen's servants, the servants of the queen who still oppress the field slaves. Still oppress the field slave. So when we say the Chinese is downloaded themselves in Jamaica, and we might have said, well, them a build road and this and that. Of course, we want nice road and we want this and that. I'm going to go to them, go talk to them about a music hall door. Because Babsy Grange look like she want me get whole and can't walk before me come enjoy what all when me can go sit down and watch artists are performing now. You understand? But what I say is that the Chinese in Jamaica is our ear, my favorite, one of my favorite ladies, them Kabu, my boss. We hear she insists on using a lot of our programs to try to make people understand the implications of China in the Caribbean and in Africa. And it might sound like she keep ramming it, but the purpose of we here who do these kind of things, you know, is to keep showing you facts, keep bringing up questions, and sometimes even suggestions, whether right or wrong, so that it can really stir up your thinking and maybe make you allow you to do something about your situation. So when you hear Cabo keep saying China in this and China in that, and she bring up certain things, it's because she is fast thinking. She's thinking ahead. So what she's saying now, when Cabo do have no teeth in her mouth and no ear on her head and a walk with stick, what she's saying going to be so normal in the fair time of our elderly state that people going to say, but you remember that little daughter, the name Cabo, we used to tell about the things them, what China going to bring and what going to happen when China start to get a foothold in our country. People going to remember these things. So, why we have to go wait till Cabo have no teeth in her mouth and a walk in a little daughter hold her up and I shouldn't have no ear upon her head and all them something there. Why we have to go wait till that happen? Why we can't examine what she bring to the table, what she bring to the earwaves, so as not to make we gone by the morning can't go good evening. Because all of them little clip here is clip where people know outside of Jamaica. These things over here play, it's like people know these things outside of Jamaica. And them is making move to make it don't reach them in a level where it going to reach Jamaica, because these politicians where we have in Jamaica, them don't have no sense about certain things which can affect we. Because you hear one of them with the brother named Picasskill, I say development trump the environment, when them sign things about the environment, you know. And when the thing did go on in a Negril, when them did go build this, go straight out into the water there and put pack up a stone and all them something there. And then we see the hotel and all them there. Him say, when the hotel did move the sand them, truckload of sand. By the way, years ago, 500 truckload of sand was missing off our beach. So we don't hear nothing more about that again. I want the Tracy can go investigate that thing there for me. Because I see you look like you're an investigative reporter now, you know. It's Tracy. I send you on a mission, you know. Why you go investigate that 500 truckload of sand. That move, no, that move, you see, oh, you ask me, and I put it out to you and you ask me about it. You have to go investigate it. No, I'm serious. I want to investigate what happened to that case where 500 truckload of sand was missing from a beach. How the hell 500 truckload of sand can miss from a beach? Just like that. Nobody knows the truck them move. We want some investigation. But when I say that fight, because the other day, when the new hotel where they build, them start move the truck, the sand them from half of the beach. And the environmentalists them start to shout. The guy, where name? Pickers Kill? Where name? Pickers Kill? Or Pickers Kill him name? Where name? Tracy can't say the wrong thing by the radio, man. Where name? Pickers Gill? Pickers Gill. Robert Pickers Gill. Otherwise known as Bobby Pickers Gill. Yeah. All right. When Pickers Kill, come say, development trump the environment. What manner of people is it? When you hear a minister can come publicly and say that, you know, say, them people are not have nothing to do with nature. Or what them want to call God earth, you know. Them don't respect the earth. And the earth is the only thing that can make man survive. Because man a plan for go do all sort of thing. Them don't have no money for go live like on planet. A white people are going to move for you to go on planet and just destroy it so, and kill out the whole away, if you don't mind sharp. You hear Branson from Virgin a plan trip to go a moon. Them people are going left you down here so to these little ignorant bossy slave. Eh? I save some money for go with Branson there. I go on that the flight got the moon with them. Me what going to sit up there with all the white people there, trust me. You think I joke? I'm going to talk to Trump, you know. I'm going to talk to Trump because Trump will make America white again. I really have to go figure out how much bleach I can buy to set up myself. This is the cutting edge at IRFM.
It's Better Electrics for all your residential, commercial, and industrial electrical needs. We do electrical installation, control wiring, energy audits, pole line design and construction. We also do equipment rentals, bucket trucks, man lifts, crane truck, backhoe, and lots more. Power tools, a team and equipment also available for tree cutting. Call us at 758-6532 or visit our office at 226C Spanish Town Road, Kingston. It's Better Electrics for all your residential, commercial, and industrial electrical needs.
Yes, this is the cutting edge. So, we want to play this one, you know. We say we're not going to play something else. The human price of pollution. And this is about China. Because we have to say, hey, you think we're going to ease up our fight? All tomorrow we're upon it again, you know. All tomorrow we're upon the China thing again, you know, because that's a serious thing. I go on in Jamaica, you know. A serious thing. Oh, no, understand where I go on, you know. We are suffer, so. We are suffer. We want money to do this, we want money to do that at any cost. Just like the government I say. Development at any cost. Because them want, make sure say, through them to tell you say them want, them are going to do this and make the money go this and eat your, what them call them? IMF, them put certain argument in the IMF and them are going to do this with IMF. Them want to make sure so them fulfill them like a monetary thing there now. Monetary responsibility. And forget, say, you could have money a little more if you don't have no Jamaica, you don't have, I mean, it don't make no sense. If the air is not clean, and the water is not clean, trust me, it don't make sense with your money. It don't make sense with your money. Clean water, clean air is something where all human beings, all animals and all plants, including the plant them, because if the plant don't feed you oxygen, you're going to go dead with the carbon dioxide we have in there. If you don't feed the plant them with carbon dioxide. Anyway, we're going to play this thing here. We're going to play it.
All industrial nations one day hit an environmental turning point, an event that dramatizes to the population the ecological and human consequences of growth. For China, whose environmental crises seem to arise on a scale as sweeping and epic as the vast nation itself, this began in 2013. Pervasive air and water pollution, mismanagement of industrial waste, desertification, loss of biodiversity, and unpredicted demographic changes altogether drove into the media spotlight the very real costs of China's unchecked development. The World Bank estimated the cost of China's pollution at $100 billion per year, and The Economist labeled its environmental failures a unique, potentially disastrous global threat. Both domestically and internationally, an awareness of the situation and its consequences began to spread.
China suffers from both local problems and global environmental challenges. So the combined impacts of climate change and local pollutions are causing enormous consequences. A lot of the environmental problems in China are very closely linked to our energy consumption, because there's something fundamentally wrong with the economic model. That's why the more the economy grows, the more the environment start to get worse.
在这个地区，我们地表的这些水源、这些河流基本上就干涸了，不是干涸了，就是流淌的就是污水。那么叫做有河这个皆干，有水皆污。这个污染呢，导致的结果就是我们的有限的这些资源又遭到了损害。它和缺水之间是一个非常恶性的互动。也就是说，因为缺水，河里没水，所以排出去的污水都没有办法去稀释、去自净，所以污染就更重。那么这些污染排放下去以后，有限的清水资源也被破坏。
January 2014 saw fetid smog trap Beijing under pollutants from the region's 200 coal-fired power plants, where concentration levels hit 40 times what the World Health Organization deems safe. Recent reports finally classed the pollutants, notably the PM2.5 small air particle, as carcinogens, claiming that every year up to 500,000 people die in China as a result. Common medical consequences include respiratory diseases, lung and bladder cancer, strokes, and worsened learning skills.
大概一针。之前他要死了，晚上突然他受不了了嘛，他就让我说声妈妈，我受不了了，你不要哭，就算他真血嘛，还有他弟弟平常不好，我一定要坚强。
Xingtai, a small industrial town in Hebei province, south of Beijing, was named China's most polluted city of 2013. It is one of the many rural settlements where Chinese officials have been attempting to relocate Beijing-based industries following the city's 2008 Olympic cleanup efforts. Breathing air there is now likened to living in an airport smoking lounge.
这个庄稼你地污染了，空气也污染，我们车也有。这个好多人这个人痰，就是说这个人脑梗、血脂稠、心跳。糖尿病这种病很多发生，我老婆才做的手术，就是肠子黑了，检查出一个来，是个这肠癌死了已经，等死的了，对的，这就等死，真的违抗把以后污染的，还这个转周围在肠污染的， 谁管你？我们污染宽度得不到。
Further south along the coast in Zhejiang province, the city of Ningbo is notorious for its textile factories and wastewater negligence. Settlements are dotted throughout the region where wastewater is dumped into local supply rivers and in turn serves crops, animals and families. The cancer villages, so named for their exponentially high disease and death tolls, have traditionally been kept under the radar by national media, corrupt local officials and corporate forces. Individual victims here paid the ultimate price for expedient economic growth. And only in February 2013 did the Chinese government acknowledge their existence.
政府的话说是向环评局的一个事，我就打电话问这环评局局长，我说我们这个人嘛已经赔在了，必须我们的实体马上就强烈对比他们我们改进。他总在电话里告诉我说是，我想给弄视频，想给你吧，总是我们这些老百姓吧，总是哄得到说的，我老是总是像个样子。
我说搁请个是搁你这国家他妈都让你知道造成是个麻烦，人肯定说我起来看着端的也好吧，给我是个麻烦，我只要你们上去就是。以后那出来行，他妈一直一拖那这那，从整个村下来要照俺个孩子，现在意思了吗？
很多人，任何人都希望媒体来报道，来表现他们的困境。 但是媒体是不乐意来报道这样的事情，因为太多，一般被污染的这样的人很难打赢官司。政府和企业家，政府的官员和企业家一般是好。
难道我们连正常的话都不能说？我们作为一个公民的最起码权利，他妈连说话权都没有。有苦不能说，有苦不能诉。 应该这是我们应该实施的权利，是我们应该行使的权利，任何人都不能干涉我们，不管哪个部门，特别是你们这些政府、派出所人员，我们又没打架，又没吵架，又没闹事，你们一直派这些人来干什么的？我们给他打个话，所以对我们村民施加压力，你村民这些还要继续再收污染。
Yes, this is the cutting edge, and I FM bringing it to you raw, and I diluted. A serious thing. And we don't stop this, so you know. We not stop this, so. And you think so we are stop about it tonight? We are go about on it again tomorrow too, because we see we are going, you know. And we see we're going down at Marcus Garvey, and we see we are going right across the country. We see the flooding we are take part on a Rhone River. Yeah? I mean, because of so-called development, and we see them going to bring. Watch out, man. I can't even go through what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. So let me just talk about what we are dealing with that. So no. Well, why you listen to this again, you know? Listen to this. Just listen to this, because as some serious thing are going, I would need to make the people them know.
Welcome to Top 10 Archive. Between greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide emissions, we've done quite the number on our wondrous planet. And while we've all had a hand in polluting our own world, there are certain countries that play a bigger part than others. To educate, inform, and maybe terrify our readers, we're pointing fingers at the 10 countries with the highest pollution emission. Number 10, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia makes up a measly 1.3% of the world's overall CO2 emissions. But it's a surprising number, considering the comparatively smaller population of just under 29 million. As with most countries, the burning of fossil fuels adds a great deal of pollution in the form of CO2. But there's more to Saudi Arabia's environmental pollution than that. the country's production of over 50 million tons of cement in 2013, a drastic jump from 26 million tons in 2005, as well as being one of the world's largest petroleum producers, has played a significant part in Saudi Arabia's role in world pollution emissions. Number 9, Indonesia. With a population nearing 250 million people, a heavy intake of electronic waste, and the routine burning of crops for the production of pulp, palm oil, and paper, Indonesia has quite the hand in the world's emission of pollutants. In regards to CO2 pollution alone, Indonesia accounts for 1.4% of total emissions at 510,000 kilotons emitted on an annual average. Things are so bad in Indonesia that it is known for being home of two of the world's most polluted areas, Kalimantan and Citarum River Basin. The persistence and hazard of the polluted haze from the frequent fires has even forced schools to close and infants to be evacuated from Indonesian cities. Number 8, Canada. Everybody loves Canada, right? Well, maybe not Mother Nature, so long as the country continues on its path of environmental destruction. Like Saudi Arabia, Canada's hand in CO2 emissions may seem small at 1.5% of the world's total, but the 550,000 kilotons is an emission per capita of 15.7%, considering the 35 million people it houses. According to Canada's own environmental conscience website, Environment Canada, major factors in the country's pollution output include an increase in localized industry and seemingly harmless things like road salt and chemicals used in dry cleaning clothing. In regards to prevention, Canada's National Pollutant Release Inventory offers a range of resources to avert further damage to the environment. Number 7, South Korea. Producing almost 2% of the world's CO2 emissions, South Korea definitely has environmental issues of its own it needs to square away. A portion of South Korea's overall air pollution does come from China in the form of arsenic-carrying dust, but that's not to say it's innocent. Coal-firing plants in the country are a major cause to the elevated carbon dioxide levels and creation of the lung-damaging ultra-fine dust. In Seoul specifically, residents are advised to have protective masks on hand should a desert dust blow in and react with nitrogen and sulfur oxides emitted from power plants to form ultra-fine dust. Number 6, Germany. It may be hard to refrain from making a Volkswagen joke about now, but truth be told, Germany's pollution problems stem a bit beyond car manufacturing, though it should be said that elevated diesel pollution has been observed, which has played a role in the country's 3% contribution to the world's pollution problem. One city in particular, Stuttgart, experiences spikes in nitrogen dioxide pollution that brings the annual level to over double what's considered an acceptable threshold. As with much of the rest of the world, Germany's CO2 contribution stems from fossil fuel consumption and waste emission, though the country has been seeing slight drops in CO2 levels, with a 4.3% drop of the country's total pollutants from 2013 to 2014. Number 5, Japan. The air quality in Japan has certainly taken some big hits throughout history, from Hiroshima to Fukushima, but a portion of the country's problem with pollutants comes from its own practices. Though Japan has some of the strictest regulations when it comes to sulfur dioxide and nitrogen emissions, the country houses 70% of the world's waste incinerators. With the incineration of waste, dioxins are emitted into the air, increasing the risks of cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. An additional source that attributes to urban pollution includes Japan's use of nuclear energy, though the emission of greenhouse gases are generally smaller than common practices like coal burning. Despite the use of nuclear energy, Japan still accounts for 4% of the world's CO2 emissions. Number 4, Russia. 5% of the world's CO2 emissions comes from Russia. And when you get down to the nitty-gritty of how the government once viewed pollution, it's a surprise that level isn't much higher. At one time, Russian government officials believed that concern and regulation over pollutants were not worth considering if it meant a slowdown of economic advancement. By the 1990s, approximately 40% of Russian territory felt the effects of this mindset and was under moderately high environmental stress. Russia still faces inefficient energy usage and emission from fossil fuel use, though the Ministry of Fuels and Energy reports that carbon emission can be cut by 25% through upgraded equipment. Number 3, India. Approximately 6% of the world's CO2 emissions comes from India, but it also has one of the lowest emission per capita numbers due to its larger population of over 1.2 billion people. Regardless, the country faces an ecological crisis due to the burning of fossil fuels, more specifically diesel from vehicles and factories. It's a small role in the big picture, but Hindu cremation practices are also a hindrance to the environment, as the public burning of a deceased person releases carbon dioxide and mercury. Families also utilize cow manure and other agricultural waste as cooking fuel, meaning each household practicing these methods are contributing to the country's overall pollution. Number 2, United States. Making up about 15% of the world's total CO2 emissions, the United States produces over an approximate 5 million kilotons of CO2 a year. In 2014, the American Lung Association reported that around half of the United States' 300-plus million population was living in areas of dangerously high air pollution levels. Beyond just CO2 emissions, warmer temperatures are causing an increase in ozone levels in cities like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and Las Vegas. What's causing the increase in air pollution in the states? Everything from overuse of fossil fuels to oil spills to pesticides have all played a part in crippling the country's environment. Number 1, China. China being at number 1 is probably not a huge surprise, but it's still shocking to know that nearly 30% of the entirety of the world's CO2 emissions, or twice that of the United States, comes from this country. With a population of over 1.3 billion people and cities almost completely covered in a hazardous smog, China is constantly facing an environmental crisis, so much so that it's believed that only 1% of the country's city population is breathing air considered safe by European Union standards. A reliance on coal burning for heat, an increase in industrial plant usage, and unfortunate weather patterns that don't allow for the escape of pollution have made parts of the country dangerous to live in. Were you surprised to see a certain country on this list? Do you have an idea for a future Top 10 video? Let us know in the comments section below. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and our website, top10archive.net. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with all of your family and friends.
Number 1, China. You hear the man say? Only 1% of the population good and healthy. It will come on to carbon dioxide emission. Hey, a coal cause that, you know. I want the people to understand why we are doing this, you know. I want the people to understand why we're playing these things. Because them have way in our thing where immediate gratification where them don't make you think ahead on the consequences of your immediate gratification, what can happen down the line. And them don't make you think about what came before. It's a weird thing. We don't have no serious examination about the past, and we don't have no serious understanding about what can happen in the future. And that is what slavery is all about, you know. Slavery is where them wipe away your past and don't make you have no future more than the future with them make you want, with them want you have. Slavery wipe away the past and create a future for you down the line. Now, if we have information, because information is the greatest inspiration. If we have information, we will be best able to make calculated, you know. We now really see that these people plan ahead. Them plan ahead. Because them understand where them a come from. And them don't want what happen back of them happen in front of them. So meanwhile, them a draw themselves from certain things that will cause detriment to them. Them want to impose it now upon the ignorant. And that is always the way I go on. That because you so gravelicious and so licky and feel that no, we have to work with now, not the future, no, we have to work with. When I think down the line, that even though people are talking about the youths are our future, most of them people we are talking about youths are a lie, them don't believe that. Them don't believe that. Because some of them don't tell you the world soon end. As the first thing, some of them old people are telling you about the world soon end. From them are picking the world soon end. All them grandmother and great-grandmother did that say the world soon end. And the world soon end, I see people that build up this. You see people that make this. I see people that talk about world soon end. So the guy around there so I trick you by telling you about the world soon end. Meanwhile, he might have millions I set up for sending picnic to university or Miami. And send him picnic go Boston, a university, to get PhD and MA and all these things. And then the next guy around there, so, I collect money again, knowing, say, boy, right now, you don't really have it, but you don't want to go to hell. You don't want to go to hell, so you have to go give them some money. But that money that's to help them picnic for go to school and for drive car while you walk to church. And build up big building. But look how China they know. One of the fastest developed country on earth. Yet still, the majority of them population is sick. From what? From the same development where they might try to develop. What is the purpose of development? Development is supposed to make human beings more healthy, wealthy, and wise. If you sit with nature and understand nature, that them as human beings can become divine. We keep repeating the same thing, but we have to repeat it. It's only in man's humanity I'm going to find divinity. There's no divinity outside of the human consciousness. A man have to find that divinity in himself. And you can't find divinity in yourself through metal and steel and plastic. We have said, we understand development, we understand the process of development and what development should be. But at the expense of what? What is the expense of development? When we say development, you should be more comfortable. You should be less sick. That is development, you know. Development don't mean say you're sick, but you can afford to go to a doctor. That is not development. Development must be preventative. You're preventing something than to trying to cure something. And when we see in a so-called first world countries, ironically, you know, the man no mention no country in Africa up to now. Yet still when you look at South Africa, you know, as one of the countries them where is nearer to the Western way, because of the history of European invasion and apartheid. You see them have a problem. But you have certain part of Africa, diabetes and them things that is not known. When you say diabetes, the marks is what that? And now you see young people, young people. We should have buried them grandmother and have buried them mother are dead from disease where them grandmother should have dead from. Young people, me talk about all teenager. Teenagers start have cancer. And we hate to use this as an example, but we're going to use it. With general manager, Chad. We come at IRFM from Chad as 6-year-old. 6. Or maybe 5. Me come here from him at 5. And him dead in his 20s. From cancer. 20-year-old. Diabetes. When me say, when me a teenager, a people over 50 have them something there. People over 50 have them something there. You know, I expect say a grandmother I go bury them grand picnic. And the more them introduce things that is anti-nature, is the more the sickness come away. And them are train young people to continue the process of polluting the planet by educating them in a way that is anti-nature. And if you're anti-nature, you could have ball out on God a little more. It never help you. Because how can you say you love God that you cannot see? Yet you can't love where you can see. How you know that what you can see is not a manifestation of what you can't see? Because truly, what you see is what you get. So, if you now preserve life in the nature, then we could have built tall building a little more, and a mine backside a little more, and have millions of dollars a little more. If the people not in tune, in line with the earth, with the air, with the water, and with the sunlight. And we in this part of the world, we're near to the equator, we are blessed with the sunlight, raw. We should be rejoicing and worshiping the sun like our ancestors were doing in those times in Kemet. But we refuse. So now we are looking up in the sky. When our ancestors look in the sky, is the sun them was looking at. It's not no man where in the sky I come down. When our ancestors sought to meditate and pray and look up in the sky, them never did think that the sun will come down, come help them, because the sun is already on the earth. The sun never left the earth because the sun is the center and the life giver of earth. So you have to see the sun. You have to understand that the sun is the life force, the giver of life and energy upon earth. So if you want to block out the sun with your pollution, and if you want to dirty up the water with your pollution, and if you want to make the air that is necessary for human being to live in accordance with how human beings supposed to live, then you're going to have to pay the consequence to try to manipulate nature in a way that nature cannot flow. You think you can stop water from flow? Water run and you stop it over there so it find another way to move. The power of water is one of them energy there where human beings try control and manipulate. Them say 30 years out. I want people them just do me, I say, when I say it because, we just have settings, Them say, no me say, Them say, in the next 30 years, China might not have any water. You hear what I say? According to statistics, them say, in the next 30 years, China might not have any water. No, I don't know what people here mention. Me's a movie buff, you know. Me watch movie from now till then. You have a movie named Mad Max. They make a Mad Max 2 the other day. What do you think the Mad Max movie was all about? The Mad Max movie was all about water and the struggle to get water and the survival of human beings in them environment to wage war against other human beings who them feel have more water than them, that them can get water to survive. Water. Last week, I think it's last week, we tell you about this story about Solomon and Sheba, where Solomon used water to seduce the queen of Sheba. Solomon, in the Bible, in the Ethiopian history book, used water to seduce a woman to go and have sex with her. What is more precious than water under the sun? And now we are pollute this life-giving property. The majority of our body is made up of liquid. The majority of the earth is liquid. And we are make things. We come from the earth that will destroy human beings, because it's not going to destroy the earth. You think plastic can destroy the earth? Plastic not destroy the earth. Carbon dioxide not going to destroy the earth. It's going to destroy the means by which human being is able to live on the planet. That is what will happen. So all these plastic buckle and all these this and that, where you say, let's say, a man has said the earth, the planet going to be destroyed. The planet will not be destroyed. It is going to be miserable for human beings to live on it because of what human beings do to Mother Earth and Mother Nature. And Mother Nature have a way to pluck out people and destroy countries and destroy land when it's say it now get its own way. So if there's any God, it must be nature. It's not no little man sit up in the sky and wait upon me for come do something wrong, for come tell me, say, boy, right now I'm going to burn up in a spit. If there's any God, it have to come through heat, air, and water. The sun, the water, and the air where we're breathing now. That is God. And the only way we can understand that is to find our humanity. And the only way we can find our humanity is to get closer to nature, to the heat, to the air and the water, and see how we're best able to use these things to make life more meaningful and human beings more loving and kinder. And we can't fight against nature and things say love or a combo. You could have got church a little more. You could have been Islam a little more. You could have been Rasta a little more. You could have prayed till you can't pray no more. Trust me, you're not going to find life as all life is supposed to be if you start and keep disrespecting nature. This is the Cutting Edge on IRFM. The time is 12 o'clock. Okay. Can't do nothing about that. All difficulties are not my problem, that. All right. So, we are continuing the journey, We are continuing the journey. we want to play this.
Beijing burns more coal than the rest of the world combined, and it's come at a cost. Coal is now the second biggest contributor to the smog here in Beijing, which you can see behind me, only after cars. Last year, coal accounted for 66% of China's total energy mix. But the country is hoping to reduce that ratio down to just 62% by 2020. Coal fuels many things here in China, including steel mills, northern China's central heating system, along with many traditional homes. However, I visited one community here in Beijing where the government is trying to help families to move off coal and onto electricity. In the depths of Beijing's winter, its old alleyways, called hutongs, can be freezing cold. Unlike new buildings, the homes here aren't on the central heating grid. For many, burning coal is the cheapest way to keep warm. Yang Yuying and her husband, Wang Jingdong, relied on coal until recently.
The fumes from our coal stove were poisonous unless we contained them. We had to make sure every hole was covered.
In 2012, they switched to electricity, thanks to government subsidies of up to 60%. That means they only pay about 3 cents an hour during the day and just a penny an hour at night. Along with being more affordable, electric heat is also safer than burning coal. Earlier this year, Beijing announced plans to ban coal sales in its 6 main districts, including this one, by 2020. And that means getting more communities like this to switch to natural gas and electricity. After decades of shrouding the sky with a hazardous haze, Beijing's coal-fired thermal plants will also be closed down, meaning more of the city's central heating will come from clean energy too. Official data shows coal accounted for 1/4 of the city's energy use in 2012, but it's set to shrink to 10% by 2017 as more families quit burning coal at home.
Most households within the second ring road have electric heating. This has reduced Beijing's coal use by 280,000 tons every year. It's also cut our CO2 emissions by 730,000 tons a year.
With up to 500,000 people who die in China each year as a result of outdoor air pollution, moving people here in its biggest city away from coal use is becoming even more urgent.
Grace, the so-called APEC blue skies last month showed just how efficient China can be in controlling air quality, as well as the very challenging task that China is facing to hold production and to restrict traffic. Do you think, Grace, that the Chinese government has in fact the public support to push forward the coal limits and the energy reform?
Well, indeed, Michelle, during the APEC meeting, some 800 factories were suspended in the province bordering Beijing, Hebei. But in terms of support from industry leaders, it is hard to say. According to a Credit Suisse survey, steel output fell by 13% during this period, which obviously makes it very difficult for that particular industry. One other restriction that was imposed here was car restrictions. Drivers had to enter the city on alternating days with their cars using odd, even license plate rules. Many people I spoke to here during the APEC meeting said that they felt that this was worth it for the result that we had. However, despite this, many people still buy 2 cars, one with an odd license plate and one with an even one, in order to get around that restriction. So Beijing is now considering an even tougher traffic charge for cars entering the city center, as seen in Tokyo and London. Back to you.
Yeah, that was a report about the pollution in Beijing and how people are trying to move from coal. It's a serious thing, you know. because them realize coal is creating a devastating effect on the people them in a Beijing, in a China, in a Japan, in a Germany, in America. So we don't know if Muda like get to go in a parliament and play all them tape for these politicians, you know. Yeah. Muda like get them coming on with them know. Because them is as ignorant as the people them when it come on to these things, you know. Sometimes we feel say it's only the people them ignorant to certain knowledge. But the politician them also is ignorant. The preacher worse. The preacher worse because I pray about him, I preach things about what him never experienced yet. And him I tell people things where them supposed to do where him can't live up to. But it's that nice to go in a parliament, go play that tape, yeah, play them little clip, yeah, for the people them. Because eyes on tomorrow. We're going to play the tune now, you know. Miriam Akiba. A long time we don't play that tune now. We're going to play this tune now. This is the cutting edge on RFM. Serious kora music. You know, the kora is one of them instruments from Africa we never come across the Atlantic Ocean. The Gambian, they master it. Kora, 20 strings. Most amazing thing I ever see, man, is when I go Gambia and see a band of musicians of about 40 musicians, and all of them are play kora. No other instrument in the band. Pure kora. Sweet, sweet, sweet music. This is the cutting edge on RFM. Yes. So, you know, tomorrow we're going to go back on this this pollution thing, this coal thing, this China thing. But we want to switch the subject. There's a sister named Crystal Dennis. She won the Brian Henry Foundation Marcus Garvey Scholarship 2016. She was rewarded scholarship at RFM annual tribute to Marcus Garvey on the 21st of August. She had 9 passes in CAP subjects. And she used to go to Taki High School and St. Mary High School. Now, she actually read the paper that she won the $1 million scholarship with, and the Running African Forum Cabos program. We think that it was such a delight to hear a little girl dig so deep to come out with that and deserving $1 million scholarship. By the way, we still look for the second prize winner for the poetry, the Marcus Garvey poetry thing. We still look for the winner. We got the first prize winner. We never get the second prize winner. I mean, we have the poem, but we still a search. I may tell you, the amount of time Tracy called that the number there. Anyway, the sister was so eloquent in our presentation that we decided that we would make the night listeners hear what she did and why she won $1 million scholarship. It's very important. The Brian Henry Foundation Marcus Garvey Scholarship was won by Crystal Dennis. And we want to present to you the reason why the sister win it. This is the cutting edge on RFM.
And up Marcus Garvey. In the compilation of this smoke, Mrs. Garvey succeeded in revealing the true outlook of one of the greatest black leaders of the 20th century. As a result of employing Marcus Garvey's actual letters, speeches, and writings, readers are granted the privilege of seeing his own words on the page instead of yet another author's interpretation, which is what his story has seemingly always done. Amy and Marcus had two sons together, Marcus Messiah Garvey III, who was born on September 17, 1930, and Julius Winston, who was born on that same day 3 years later. While Garvey was forced to return to his homeland, his activism did not stop there. A few months after his return, Garvey decided to travel again, this time to Geneva, to present the Petition of the Negro Race. This petition outlined the worldwide abuse of Africans to the League of Nations, which was an organization aimed at promoting international cooperation and preserving global peace. The following year, Garvey founded the People's Political Party, Jamaica's first modern political party, and the first to openly defend the interests of the black majority. The party focused on workers' rights, education, and aid to the poor. Its manifesto called for, among other things, official representation in the parliament, a minimum wage, a Jamaican university, and judicial reform. In April 1931, Garvey launched the Edelweiss Amusement Company in an effort to help artists earn their livelihood from their skill. Garvey was a man who strongly believed that blacks the world over should be self-reliant, and at one point had publicly stated his hope for black people that it was for them to live today as to realize that they are masters of their own destiny, who must strike out with confidence and faith in self and reach for anything they desire. Several Jamaican entertainers, including Bim and Bam and Ronnie Williams, went on to become popular after receiving primary exposure that the company gave them. In 1935, Garvey again left Jamaica. This time, though, he was headed for London in an attempt to reconstruct the international influence of the UNIA, which over the years had somehow waned. During these years, Garvey remained active, even continuing to speak extensively, and he also kept in touch with events in war-torn Ethiopia and events in the West Indies. The following year, he left London for Toronto for 5 days of speeches and appearances, also in representation of the UNIA. He was able to build a base there to the extent that in 1938, he was able to set up the School of African Philosophy to train UNIA leaders. Garvey had a stroke in January 1940, which left him partially paralyzed. 4 months after that, he had a second stroke after reading an erroneous and off-putting obituary of himself in the Chicago Defender, which stated in part that Garvey died broke, alone, and unpopular. Garvey died in London on the 10th of June 1940 at the age of 52 as a result of having suffered these 2 strokes. Due to travel restrictions during World War II, his body was interred at St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery in London. 2 decades later, his body was removed from there and taken to Jamaica, where the government proclaimed him Jamaica's first national hero and reinterred him at a shrine in the National Heroes Park. Garvey's legacy has been manifest in the lives of many other black leaders around the world. It can be seen where he inspired nearly every major African or American black movement of the 20th century through his influence on political figures there. These included Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah, Kenya's Jomo Kenyatta, Nigeria's Nnamdi Azikiwe, Congo's Lumumba, and South Africa's Nelson Mandela. Within the U.S., Garvey managed to influence greats like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Louis Farrakhan, and Kwame Ture. The work of these Garvey disciples speaks for itself, but one must go in depth to see exactly what Garvey did for the black nation. Garvey paved the way for blacks to visualize the possibility of a world no longer dominated by white power, a world where black power was the norm. Garvey encouraged them to be ambitious in their doings, making it clear to them that ambition is not something to be feared, as it lights up the life of the individual and makes him see himself in another state, a better state. Through the formation of the UNIA and its many partners, and through businesses and gatherings all over the Americas, Garvey enlightened Negroes to the political, economic, military, religious, and social possibilities of black power. Whites like J. Edgar Hoover felt very threatened by Garvey's ideologies and craftily tried to discredit him so as to put an end to his influential reign. But this was not to be. The minds of Negroes all across the world were already saturated with dreams of a Negro empire. As Garvey rightly puts it, the world ought to know that it could not keep 400 million Negroes down forever. There is always a turning point in the destiny of every race, every nation, of all peoples. And we have come now to the turning point of the Negro, where we have changed from the old, cringing weakling and transformed into full-grown men, demanding our portion as men. Garvey's legacy may be described under three main headings. These are his ideologies, his exemplification of nation building, and his major projects. Garvey had a number of ideologies, a great number of which are stated in the text, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. One thing Garvey spoke about in detail was the need for the race to have power in all spheres of society, as this was an aspect of nation building. Garvey said, "Power is the only argument that satisfies man. Except the individual, the race, or the nation has power that is exclusive. It means that that individual, race, or nation will be bound by the will of the other who possesses this great qualification. It is advisable for the Negro to get power of every kind, power in education, science, industry, politics, and higher government. That kind of power that will stand out so that other races and nations can see, and if they will not see, then feel." Garvey also spoke about equity and the need for blacks to have certain qualities, which would make them into a great race. Garvey asserted that God Almighty created all men equal, whether they be white, yellow, or black. And for any race to admit that it cannot do what others have done is to hurl an insult at the Almighty who created all races equal. All of us were created lords of the creation. And whether we be white, yellow, brown, or black, nature intended a place for each and every one. Surely Africa is for the black man. 400 million Negroes shall shed, if needs be, the last drop of their blood for the redemption of Africa and the emancipation of the race everywhere. He strongly believed that if Africa were to be redeemed, the race would need individuals with certain attributes, men of vision and ability, men of character, and above all, men of honesty. Garvey exemplified nation building through the formation of a number of black organizations, including the UNIA and PPP, educational institutions like the School of African Philosophy, commercial institutions like the Black Star Line Steamship Company, the Negro Factories Corporation, and the Negro World, social institutions like the Black Cross Nurses and the African Orthodox Church, and perhaps one of the greatest colonization movements ever, the Back to Africa movement. Garvey had two main projects, which were to help create black governments, presidents, armies, etc., and to create a black superpower in Africa. So far, one can clearly see where Garvey, through his Black Power movement, mobilized many black leaders to take control of their societies, as is obvious with scenarios like that of Nkrumah and Mandela. In that sense, much of the first undertaking has been achieved. Unfortunately, one cannot see where a black superpower exists in Africa at this point. It is the hope that soon Garvey's followers will rise up so they can move towards this goal. This is probably the greatest legacy Garvey left for all his followers to build on. Indeed, why should we wait on chance to make a difference in our lives when chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people? As a people, we need to build Black power. We need to teach our brothers and sisters that every time we refuse to accept the white man's defining our boundaries, Black power reigns. Members of our race must demand that we participate in the decisions that affect our lives and that of our children. If that means marching and chanting Black power in the streets so that the daily attacks on our men will stop, we should. If it means meeting with others who share our ideals, the ideals of Garvey, so that we can form institutions to eliminate the poverty of blacks the world round, we should. Before we can begin to claim the power, though, we must understand that we must educate ourselves so that we can fully appreciate the writings of great men like Garvey and build on the foundation they have set. We need to remember that if we do liberate our minds, we can liberate bodies, thus liberating ourselves from oppression. Garvey never liked poverty. He always said it was a crime. So Black power in this sense is using any skills learned in university to aid in the formation of organizations aimed at benefiting financially and otherwise others of my race scattered around the globe. We need to continue where Black Moses, Marcus Mosiah Garvey left off, leading our people out the wilderness. We have to remember, above all, to love ourselves, because Black love is the genesis of Black power. And as a friend Adisa once said, Black power is the answer to every challenge we face when it is operationalized and we are courageous enough to confront the questions. So as the crowd continues to chant Black power, one man takes out his portable radio and asks for all to listening. In listening, they hear the sound of Bob Marley as he steadfastly urges, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." And it is then that these people remember the actual speech from which these lines were taken. A speech given by Mollymoo Marcus Mosiah Garvey in Nova Scotia during October 1937 that continues to inspire them. They think of his exact words: "We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because whilst others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Mind is your only ruler. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of the other man who uses his mind." And then they say among themselves, "Indeed, if he believed in it, we too can continue to believe in the Black man's ability to free himself. We too can believe in Black power." And they resume their chant, "Black power, Black power, Black power, Black power."
So you know, so them could have take that paper and put it at the school them in Jamaica. Yeah, for the young people them. I would have suggest that. I don't know how far them suggestion that can go, but the Minister of Education could have really looked into that paper where the sister present and include it in the teachings of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. She did some really serious research there. This is the cutting edge on RFM. As we tell you, we go to Houston the other day and we meet some nice people. They have a sister. There's a sister reading poetry on the program. Rachel Gemini. We want to yell her up. Anyway, she's there right now. Must be in Houston.
And head down, slouched, not standing tall.
And then I heard in surround sound, head up queen, your crown's about to fall as autumn approaches. Your limbs need to learn to let things go. That's when things get cold. But don't worry, in the next season, you'll see growth, cause everything is everything. After winter must come spring. I wrote these words for every woman who struggles to get loose. 1, identify your chains, be the man, money, drugs, or lack of knowledge. 2, get a keychain, cause you got a few locks that you need to acknowledge, like leaving. Woman, why do you subject yourself to a punching bag? Valentine colors are not black and blue. Hearts don't have that ended because he punched them in that way. That man is not your God. So why do you feel the need to bleed like Jesus for your children's transgressions and inexcusable anger? We already bleed once a month voluntarily to give life. Don't let him take yours. Those kids need you like Gotham needs a hero. So be more like Jesus, their savior, keeping you and them from harm. Leaving is a key. Add it to your crown. Next. You. Yeah, you. You claim you learn fast. You're on your job and you just want them to give you a chance, but you haven't even given yourself a chance to go register for a class. And now you mad because you 30 and you didn't let time pass. But if I still see sand flowing like a fountain in that hourglass without procrastination and excuses, or now your nooses, I'm not just talking to you, sis. Because you see, Gemini is only human. Don't think I haven't been through the same predicaments in me. I'm about to graduate this year, so it's evidence that knowledge is a key. Add it to your crown. Next. Stop dropping your kids off continuously to go drop it like it's hot. You had that baby, not your mother. Responsibility is a key. Add it to your crown. Next. I don't know what they want from me. Is like the more money we come across, more problems we see. Money can make legs split, make cheeks clap, make it precipitate presidents. Why? Because we women have set this precedence. But I wish you knew that you can own more than just the spare ones in his pocket. You got vital volumes leaping from your voice box. You got persuasion leaking from your eye sockets. If you knew what you could do, you would let the government make it rain grants, enroll in classes that give you a new definition of assets, graduate, cover that G-string with suit and pants instead of a baby, birth an idea, let it marinate in your brain's womb, and in 9 months pitch it and have them same men throwing money at you in the boardroom. I'm talking value, I'm talking worth, I'm talking standards. These are not just sounds, these are not just nouns. I'm trying to give you keys to add to your crown, because just because you're a female does not mean you're a woman. I said, just because you are female doesn't make you a woman. It only means that you have the divine right to be what God intended you to be. Woman. A little bit more than men. Wait, I'm just trying to say we do a little bit more than men. Have you ever thought about why there was a W and an O? A W and an O. We have she and he, girl and boy, female and male. I guess without one, there would be no life. Without one, there would be no life. So female, accept your divine right as woman. Place upon your head a crown and never let me catch you with your head down.
Continent with Mutabaruka. We are listening to our meds. You know here. Continent. The end. The end.
Thanks to his own divine majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I the First, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, light of this world.
You're listening to your radio.
No, darling. Listen.
Oh, Mr. Mad, how you do?
What a feast.
Good morning.
What a feast.
Okay.
What a feast. And from the youth.
Yes.
From the youth. You know, the education department should put all of that into pamphlet form.
That's what I just saying. That's what I was just saying. That they
yes,
should do that.
Put it in pamphlet form, because this is the easiest and best teaching that I've heard. You know, it's really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What a feast. My 94th birthday, I celebrate my birthday all month.
Happy birthday. Happy
Yes,
birthday.
thank you, darling.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Listen, this is just wonderful.
Yes.
I celebrate my birthday all month, and this has been part of it. And God bless you, young man.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Yes, that was Mother Simad, 94-year-old, tuning into the cutting edge at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you must know, so we're doing something right. Yes, we're doing something right. You understand? We love that. Yes, cutting edge.
Yes, morning, Muta.
We're doing something right when Mandingo call. We're at the same time every week from England. We're doing something right.
So, do you remember the title or the theme of the poem that was published in Marcus Garvey's Jr. ANU Black Man magazine?
The poem they put in there?
Yes, because, you know, in those times, because of the revolutionary situation, our names weren't used for what they put in there, or we used other names. So, in several poems, so if you remember the title of the poem or the theme of it?
No, I don't remember the poem. You know. But if you tell me some of them, I will, if you call out the first two lines of one of them, I will know. I will tell you if I need it.
All right, but what I'll do, I'll go through them, and next week then I'm going to call out the lines of some of them.
Yeah, email me, yeah.
And we trigger.
Yeah, man, I'll love to find out. I'll love to find out that, believe you me.
No, me know, and I'll make you have the relevant copy, your copy, definitely.
Yeah,
see?
man,
So next week I'm going to do that and thing. And I just want to say, happy birthday, Earth Strong, to my physics teacher, our teacher there at Kingston Technical, Marcus Garvey Jr., whose birthday will be this coming Saturday, the 17th of September, you know. And I hear that tape that you were playing some clips about pollution.
Yeah, the Chinese pollution,
so, yeah, because the thing that some people don't realize is that pollution, using coal and other things and so. In London here, for example, a lot of people die because of breathing problems, because of pollution.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yes, it messes with your respiratory system.
Yeah.
And a lot of people die. And I remember Marcus Garvey Jr. saying in a speech, in more than one speech in the 80s, that the best form of energy that we should be using would be like sun, which we have, you know, abundant supplies of that in the Caribbean and in Africa. And in Africa, the wind in the Sahara Desert region, because as he said, sun, getting energy from the sun and getting energy from the wind are clean forms of energy.
Yes, and you can get energy from water too.
And from water too.
Yeah,
and these are clean forms of energy.
Of course, instead
you
of
know?
coal, yeah, man.
Because the nuclear and the coal and other things, the effect it has on the health of people. And you said something which is so right. The earth is not going to be destroyed. The pollution kills people, not the earth.
Yeah, not the earth.
Yes, the earth will be here. Mother Earth will be here. You know?
Anytime I hear people talk that it's even environmentalists say it, you know, so you're destroying the planet. Oh, man, I will destroy the planet. Man can't destroy the planet.
Exactly, it's ridiculous. It's not destroying the planet. I mean, who really get destroyed are people that are living organisms that live on the planet, you know. So they should use the word correctly. But in tribute to Marcus Garvey Jr., my physics teacher, I must quote the definition that he gave for light in the 1960s when he was teaching myself and others at Kingston Technical there by 82 Hanover Street, where he said light is an electromagnetic form of radiation emitted by the sun or any other hot source which stimulates the senses and causes the sensation of vision. Classic definition by Marcus Garvey Jr. I mean, this man has about 5 or 6 degrees, about 2 or 3 electrical engineer, 2 masters in physics, LLB in law, degree in economics, etc. I wish him all the best, and his wife, Mrs. G. Garvey, who was also a former student of Kingston Technical, but before our time. She's from Rollington Town.
She never used to go to Kingston Technical when we are going there.
No, you're talking the second wife. You're talking our sister in that wife was the second wife, the one who went to Kingston Technical with us. She used to live by Harborview way, if my memory serves me right. Who was a son for him, by the name of Seko.
She may talk. Say she used to go to school when we used to go there.
Yes, but his third wife is also a Kingston Technical woman too. Dean.
Okay. I love Kingston Technical woman, man.
Oh Lord, well you know the technical special.
Yeah.
Yes,
and who didn't love Kingston Technical? You know who didn't love Kingston Technical student them too? Irons.
Oh Lord, don't worry, mention Keith Irons, the maths teacher.
Irons maths teacher, man. It's not easy, It's not easy to
Man, I remember there was a case when he was very interested. In fact, eventually, other thing, have to be careful how we talk and think with a student who you and I know well, one of the beauty queens at Kingston Technical, who was girlfriend with Byron Perkis and Irons,
him did after my lady too in that school, And him did after my woman in that school too,
Yes,
I give a joke, Him know so we are going to Maritone for weekend, Come Maritone Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to Maritone. The man used to pack me up with maths homework in a rasta. And that man, they make me well while I left school, That man, they alone make me well while I left school, Yes. Because after me there at school, I didn't realize, this little lady, me and her really tight. The man packed me up a maths homework. I said, when me come back Monday, me not do no homework, pure detention me get,
Yeah, man. Pressure you.
Yeah, man. The man
pressure you. Yeah, man. Keith Irons, the maths teacher. And of course, remember the chemistry teacher, Mrs. Frankson, and the English teacher, Mrs. Spear. But may I tell you, man, Keith Irons was something. And he used to wear these tight trousers.
And white socks.
And white socks.
No, wear black socks at all.
Him cock up him foot on the chair,
Yeah.
I won't add nothing more. Some tight patch.
You remember him straight up, man.
I you see from the moment him know say the girls them like you.
Yeah.
Him not really what a male student.
Take it for me.
Your competition.
Brethren, the man takes it for me because my girlfriend was like queen of the queens.
Yeah, no, man. You know her, man. She was one of the pretty ones, them too. And him never like my popularity with the girls, them from Kingston Technical either too. And I never used to pay for much private lessons with him. And, I'm do well as I get scholarship.
Yeah. That's serious thing.
Yeah, most of part paying him no private lessons and things. I study for my own and come through and get scholarship from Kingston Technical. But
I'm a good maths teacher though.
But he was a good maths teacher.
Yeah, man, I'm a good maths teacher, man. May I tell you, man.
Brilliant maths teacher. Brilliant maths teacher.
Any other maths teacher like that, man. That man did no maths.
Yes. Yeah, man. And of course, Marcus Jr. was teaching me physics, but he never taught me maths. But he used to teach maths also, and he taught maths at Kingston College before he came to Kingston Technical.
Yeah.
Marcus Jr. And what I think Prince Buster, our 78-year-old, legend who was born May 1938, same year like Alton Ellis,
Yeah.
Have you heard from Sultan Ali, his son, in Los Angeles?
No, well, I just come up and last week I heard from his sister. His sister called me from the hospital from Florida there.
Yeah, South Florida.
Yeah, but after that I come out for the year because she called me after 5. I don't hear from the son. And ironically, you know, the week before we had talked to Lester Sterling.
Yes, the sole remaining ska musician.
Yeah,
yes.
and them did a talk about how them a bring a ska band here, so. You know, them have a...
Same thing. Muta, you take the words out of my mouth. A vex. And them describe Scatterlights as being from the USA. And the
but
man
appear white people in there.
Involved, none at all. Yes,
but
it's
appear
wrong.
white people, most of them are white people in there.
Yeah.
So Lester Sterling was very upset that him need to put a stop to them calling the band the Scatterlights when none of the original Scatterlights not in the band. So I did a suggest to them, say, why them don't go talk to them farmer manager, PJ Patterson, who is also a lawyer, to deal with it, because him did have inside information and all them thing about the Scatterlights. Him used to them amongst them. So it maybe I think maybe it would be a good thing for them get some representation from PG as a lawyer.
Yes, in terms of that, and from other people in general, because we as Jamaicans who know the Scatterlights as a Jamaican super band. I mean, we know that, you know. Formed at the instigation of Clement Seymour Dad, because they used to play as session musicians, and him suggested that since them play for him so regular, he said they could do well as a band playing otherwise, you know, live thing and so on. And I agree with you. This thing, we must not allow this kind of injustice, this kind of insult to take place, you know, where our people, while they're still living here with us in this dimension, are disregarded. Like Lester Sterling.
I see them advertise it up, and when I look on the makeup of the band, I say, but how can somebody call that band the Scatterlights? The band where...
it's an insult.
Total insult, brethren. Total insult.
Yes, it's a total and big insult, you know.
Yeah.
And I got a statement from... the acting high commissioner here in London, Angela Rose Howell, you know, about, she sent me the statement from the Minister of National Security, Robert Montague, where he's saying that this memorandum of understanding was in April 2007 with Peter Phillips, where Peter Phillips had that both with the Britain, with the UK, you know, But what we definitely want is that some of the people who were deported, their cases were still pending, and this is really, really wrong, you know, and we must not let them get away with this type of thing. We must not let them get away with this type of thing. We must keep on where this is concerned, you know, because they're hoping that we as people will just, you know, 9-day storm and then
blow away.
Thing, yes. You know, definitely, you know. Anyway. So I'm definitely going to look up
the poem.
And next week I phone the poems. Yes, that's very, very key. And I'll also send copy of the 2 articles that I wrote.
Yeah.
Who is an African identity, and also the one about African unity that I did myself and thing, you know.
Yeah, man,
definitely.
Give thanks.
Give thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the Cutting Edge. And I refer with the video. Okay. Go there. A music with there now. I don't understand where the music there. All right. All right. Here goes.
mean, well, I have a few things, right? First, the program on Marcus Garvey was excellent. I mean, when I could get my grandmother, who is going to be 90 this year, to change the station from RJR and listen to Area FM, it was a big deal.
Give thanks to that.
Yeah, so it was really a good production, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm waiting to see, because I teach, and I teach GSAT, and of course, you know, we have to know about our national heroes, and I just think like enough is not known about Marcus, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody knows so he did the UNIA and he had the Black Star Line, but I think he did so much more.
Yeah, and this little girl here, Crystal Dennis.
That piece was magnificent.
Yeah, definitely.
It was magnificent. But also, Muta, like what you're doing is phenomenal. I was listening to your program one night, and David Mohammed was coming to launch his book, Black Studies. I said, I have to go, and because I want the book, and I go with my $3,000, and I reach, and the place was kind of scanty. Never started on time. I guess they were waiting for people, and then it started, and so I went to inquire how much the book cost. The book was $4,000. There's only $3,000 I have. Wait, and you know, he spoke and everything, and I said, well, boy, you know, I really have to get the book. And at the end of it, he's like, well, the book is 50% off. So I was like, perfect. So I bought the book. And you know, I think every black house should have that book. You know, Black Studies. I mean, I haven't reached very far, because, I mean, after I read the first chapter...
You have to soak it in.
Yeah, it was just like so deep.
It's like a study book rather than just a reading straight.
It's like you're just reading for to carry on, you know? I mean, there was just so much literature, you know? That's just not exposed. I mean, if you don't know, you just don't know. You made a... I forget what you said earlier. You said information is
inspiration.
You know, and Marcus spoke about that too. He said you should read every day.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
If you wait for a bus, man, get something and read it, man.
Yeah, man, read. I mean, we just have to, you know, just become enlightened as a people.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
You know, and what you're doing is great.
Give thanks,
you know,
give thanks.
I mean, I know a lot of young people listen to your program, and you know,
it's mostly young people listen to that program,
you know, and it's inspirational. You know, it makes you just want to change. You know, you know, so like when I'm teaching, you know, I tell them a little bit more than what they probably need to know. But, you know, maybe it will, you know, inspire them to go and dig deeper.
You know, I'm going to talk to Cabo. Something just come up in my mind, and I said it a while ago. And I'm going to talk to Cabo to say if there's a possibility of publishing the little sister work here, where we just play a while ago, Crystal Dennis' work, and kind of distribute it in some of the school level free. Yeah, make them distribute it, because I think it's a very important paper, you know.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
And it's easy, because it's a young little daughter do it, you know. It's easy,
You know, I mean, it's important, you know, that we know our roots, where we're coming from, you know, and I just don't think people are very, like, interested. You know, it's like it doesn't really matter. You know, once I was digging up the family tree, and my dad basically was like, well, what's it to you? I said, it's everything to me. You know, I want to know who I am, where I came from, you know? And it's so easy to trace your other roots, but your African roots are kind of like lost if you don't have your grandparents around, and they can only tell you so much and no more. Because everything was kind of hidden from them.
Now information is out there in the cyberspace. You can just know everything, you know, believe you me.
Yes, definitely. But Muta, you're doing a fabulous job, and you know, just keep it up, and I will continue to listen.
Of course, give thanks.
You know, it's a real, you know, enlightenment. You know, and you know, it's good.
You was listening to the pieces we play about China and the pollution and.
Yes, I tuned in a little late, but I heard it.
Yeah, well,
you know, it's a And I guess that's what they're planning to do with us.
We're going to continue tomorrow. I mean, we're going to spend more time on that tomorrow.
Right.
Definitely.
But also, I'd like to say something, because my other grandma lives in St. Thomas. You know, I'm fortunate to have both of my grandmothers still alive. And, you know, St. Thomas is a place where, you know, it's one way in, one way out. You know, and now they're talking about this highway, which is utter rubbish. I mean, what St. Thomas needs is just a proper road. Like, build the people a proper road. Because now you're going to go put a highway to pay toll. You're going past the Honeyman. You're going past the Naisberry man. Like, and how those people going to survive?
Like how they pass the man them out, pass the people them out field spend.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
I think them should have put some things on the highway. Well, I don't know if enough people have passed on the highway and now still fair.
Because the highway is expensive.
Yeah.
How much people can afford to travel the highway?
Enough money.
You know, but also there's another concern of mine, Muta, that I don't know about anybody else, but when I was studying in school and geography was my favorite subject, they said wherever water once was, the water will return.
Yeah.
The water can return in days, months, years, decades, centuries. And it's very troubling when you see people living in the riverbed.
Yeah.
I just think it is crazy. Maybe they don't have anywhere to go, but staying there is unsafe. Look at the little water that we had the other day and what happened down on Marcus Garvey.
I tell you.
And
look what happened down on Montego Bay with the little water we run down on Montego Bay the other day.
You know, I mean, we can't really. I think people have almost like a disrespect for water.
Yeah. Water more terrible than fire, you know, because water find its place, you know. And water hold fire too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want us to be a little bit more responsible. Because, you know, if you living in the riverbed and the river come down and wash you out, how is it government's responsibility to provide for you?
Well, you see, the thing with me now is that the government should not allow those things to happen.
Well, that is true.
Because them supposed to say the people, them so ignorant that them want some place to live and them no have no land, so them build the place anyway. The government should stop it before it fester. That is where I see it. Them should stop it before it fester. Just like all the people them are selling at the middle of the road. Right. And them see the people them are selling at the middle of the road for years. And them keep making the people them tell on the road, and then one day them come around and say, move out of the road, the people them go and rebel.
Very true.
So it's a terrible thing. Anyway, give thanks, sister.
All right, Muta. Take care.
Yes. Yeah, that good too.
Well put together.
Yeah, well, this can go in a comic too. That's what she do, your kite. She read it in with a 20 minutes reading, she just do a while ago, you know. Maybe if we find an artist who would have volunteered the vibes, you know, and read what she have and then write it, draw what she say in a comic book. The comic book could be a great idea. Then we'll have to find a publisher. We'll have to find a publisher and anyway it go, we're going to work something out.
Yeah.
Anyway it go, because I think it's deserving to be published.
You know, me love talk about the crowdfunding thing. I think we could have crowdfund her into something, you know.
No, when she don't get $1 million scholarship already, me talk about now for extend her into the palette of the young people them in the school.
Yeah.
And I don't think that take enough money. Not take enough money. We can't work that out. We're going to work it out. As a matter of fact, when I say we can't work it out, we're going to work it out. Right. We're going to work it out, definitely.
One day if we can beg you a song.
Which song?
Long time you not play no Astor Awake, you know, but the main thing where we do that thing right now is out of the drums we come.
Which tune that?
Andrea always play that tune.
What the tune name?
Out of the brother, I say out of the drum we come.
No, you have to give me the name of the tune, Rasta. I give me the artist who do it.
Really.
It's difficult to go. I can't go look for out of the drum week. All right, better you say that then.
Big up the man them over Bojo Bantan studio.
All right, give thanks, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice to hear from you, man. A long time I don't hear from you.
Man, we're there, see you, man.
Yeah. groups like this in South Africa. Yes, EL. EL. All right, you know that. Well, you want to go play. Special request. Asta Weke out of Ethiopia. Yes, sister will live in Washington. I think I Washington she live now, but Ethiopian. Asta Weke. Tesesa. Listen to music. Listen, Ethiopian style. And that's over there, you know. Yeah, you know, so we can come forward here from 2
get started with that. I just want to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to 2 YouTubers that I've been following, and they are Romain Green and Dubasi. Go to their channel, it's very informative and very conscious. So take this time, go to their channel and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, okay? And let's get started to our workout today. Okay?
Oh, the peak of your ad so long, man. After eye your face. No, the peak they look long. The peak they look long, Rasta. Right. So are you never know you play music on radio too? Yeah. I think you just talk. Every time you hear me, I'm play. Okay. Man, move up in life, man. So you stop travel with where your artist name again? B and no, when I just know that you was with Anthony B. Right. And then you shift to what the other your name again? The big legged daughter them all. Stay shots. Yeah. So what stay shots? A lot of time you know about stay shots. She about man, she still do her thing, but she have some entrepreneur thing where she know. You sure she not turned Christian? No yet. She not turned Christian yet? No yet. Yeah. No yet. But and then now you stop tour. You still at tour? You look like you're at tour still. You have a whole heap of jiggle there. The this and the that. You look like you're still at tour still. No, when man look like you're still at tour, the chaparita look at... You want to blind me with the chaparita there. May I tell you? The chaparita they have blind me and shock out. Eh? And it's something wrong in it. They look like it will hypnotize me. If it ever swing 2 times, so my eyes start to turn. Anyway... I say give thanks to the moment, give thanks to the time, give thanks to the energy, give thanks to me hungry as usual. Give thanks to Tracy who is there, so give thanks to Jody outside. Jody come in the morning, you know, so me and Jody used to work in the morning and them take care from me. And Shamara too, you know, Shamara used to work, but Shamara gone upstairs now. Yes, me start working on Shamara, you know, because she they over me, so now, you know, you saw your Jody gone upstairs too. A peer woman over me, a peer woman work up there, you know. No, you up there sometime too. No, so you're dropping that woman. No, me glad say you know me glad say you know I work up there with me and I so. No, never. Oh, me glad, a peer woman work on that. Believe you me. Jody, Keshima, Samantha, Shamara, Tracy, and Cabo. Oh gosh, man, 6 women they on top of me. Sometimes I'm work with them. Eh? You work with them. But me glad say you know over there up there. You glad say you know upstairs there, you know. Believe you me, and I'm vexed if you did upstairs there, you know. How do I know? Hey, me glad say I will when
get started with that. I just want to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to 2 YouTubers that I've been following. And they are Romain Green and Dubasi. Go to their channel, it's very informative and very conscious. So take this time, go to their channel and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, okay?
We are come outside, so come forward 2 to 6 or 2 to 5, 4 to 5. Here we go now.